kind of like an upright bass sound or a warmer sound, we'll go to just this pickup. And then the back pickup is more percussive.
Much tighter and punchier.
A little tighter, a little punchier.
Right.
Now we go to these, which are basically bass, mid-range, and the treble. And we know we need the bass because without it,
No good.
a little thin.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
this is what we want.
That's what we're talking about.
It's all about the bass, right?
Exactly.
Mid-range, that punch that we need when we're playing live. Without it, there's no mid.
Yeah,
right?
kind of lifeless.
Yeah, but if we roll that in again, and then of course the treble, because we want that nice, crisp, clear sound.
Right. Yeah, that's really going to help you cut through in a situation.
Exactly.
Right.
And then, you know, also we have a little equalization in the instrument itself. So if you really want to get into more of a personalized sound, I turn the EQ on, and we go from that to that, so, and everything in between.
Right. So it sounds like you've got a lot of power right there and a lot of versatility, because I'm assuming that there isn't just one sound for every situation.
Exactly.
Now, is there an approach that you have EQ-wise?
We just so happen to have a little box that we came up with.
I saw that. Let's take a look at that.
All right. This box is something that we've developed with Yamaha. It's called the NE1. It's an equalization box, basically.
Okay.
What we have here is the basic level, which I usually leave on 10. And then we have different positions we have shallow, deep, and flat. So flat, of course, is the unit is inactive. I like the deep position because I like a very deep sound. And on the frequency setting, we go from 1 to 10. I usually like to keep it on the 4 or the 10 o'clock position.
Well, so it's basically like buying Nathan's fingers.
Well, something like that, but we call it the magic box because I really love the sound. I have no idea what's in it, but it sounds great.
Well, we know it works because the sound you get on countless recordings is always very pure, very deep, very warm, and articulate. So tell us a little bit about strings. How important are strings? I noticed that you've got round wounds as opposed to flats. Why is that?
I like the round wound sound. I've been using that for many years, and it gives me a lot of crispy articulation, you know, very bright.
Tell me this, how important is a direct box?
Well, the DI is something that goes between the bass and the recording consoles. And I actually carry my direct box around to each studio with me because I want a very consistent sound because every studio has a different direct box. The one I chose is an Avalon U5. And it basically is a sound that I really enjoy, very punchy and crispy.
Well, one of the things I also see is you're using some pretty esoteric looking cables. Does it really make a difference?
Actually, you were the one that introduced me to these cables made by Terra Labs. We plugged this cable in and A-B'd it to the one that I had been using, and I found that this was very, very clear and just about 15–20% sharper sound than what I was using. So we immediately stocked up on these.
Right.
There are two very different settings a professional musician has to be comfortable in: studio recording sessions and live performances. I love playing live. When you're on stage, there's a very special kind of energy that comes from knowing there's no turning back, no second takes. Sometimes the audience is only feet away from you, so you know immediately how they're responding to what you play. When everyone, including the audience, is in the groove, there's nothing else in life like it.
Nathan, tell me, what's the difference between playing live and playing in the studio?
When you're playing live, you're getting the immediate feedback and response from the audience, which is fantastic. But when you're in the studio, you're getting this pristine representation of your instrument. So each situation has its advantages.
And what do you prefer?
Well, I prefer the balance between the two because just when I'm getting tired of doing too much studio work, then I can go out on tour, and then vice versa. If it gets old, you know, then I'm back in the studio. They both have their advantages.
And do you think the really good musicians are the ones that sound great live as opposed to the studio? Because you know how studio musicians sometimes are just good in the studio?
I use a little technique that I think about. When I'm playing live, I imagine that I'm in the studio.
Oh, wow.
And that gives me the discipline to really nail everything.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in the studio, I pretend I'm playing live. And that gives me a chance not to be in the semi-stiff environment, but more of a free-spirited environment.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes all the sense in the world.
Balance is very important to everything.
Often, it's here in the studio where the business of being a professional musician comes most sharply into focus. When it came time for me to record a new theme song for this video, naturally I wanted the right people. Not surprisingly, I had to call in a few favors to get them, because I wanted the same guys a lot of other producers want on their sessions. Life can be busy when you're on the A-list, and that's a problem a lot of aspiring musicians would love to have. There are no shortcuts to getting to the top level of musicianship, but understand that once you do, getting to the A-list doesn't automatically follow.
The difference between A and B players is basically experience. A lot of times what I find is that the A player is the one who just has the knowledge, has the ears. He's watching not only the players, but he's feeling the players. Whereas the guy who's the B player, he's playing, is technically correct, but it's not really with the other unit. And then at the end, he has to ask one important question. How'd that sound? If you have to ask that question, you missed it.
All of the great musicians that I love sound different from anybody else. And that's what I'm always looking for. If a player doesn't have that quirky individual difference, then they just become one of dozens of other regular players.
You can get what you want from a lot of the B-list players, for lack of a better term. But do you want to put yourself through all that hell when you know that somebody like Nathan can come in and nail it? Lock with the bass drum, incredible feel, great choice of notes, and learn the song the first time through. I mean, what part of that don't you want to happen?
Everybody ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Ready? Everybody's headphones okay?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
All the successful studio musicians I know have worked hard to develop skills tailored to the special demands of studio recording. Often you will have to size up a situation very quickly, then perform at a high level with little rehearsal, sometimes playing with complete strangers. This is not easy, so you have to be mentally prepared for anything that comes up. Knowing many different styles of music is essential. Remember that you've been called to sit in on somebody else's song, so it's up to you to fit in.